Hello, my name is Javion Patrick, and I'm here to explain to you about the Tulsa Race Riot in 1921. If we go further back from 1921 to the early 1900s, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, there's an area called the Greenwood Street, and the Greenwood Street was partially owned or mostly owned by Black African Americans. In the early 1900s, there were basically no Black-owned businesses around the country, but there was in a place called Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was at the time one of the most popular areas in the world. Well, around 1915 and 1921, around the time when World War I was ending, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Greenwood Street was ran by all Black, African Americans. They had schools. Everything was owned, barbershops. Everything was owned by Black African Americans. Well, people were coming home from World War I, and they didn't like that. So they tried to harass and take things and steal things and pressure them into giving up their land and their properties and their businesses, but they weren't going for it. So in 1921, they pillaged, they stole, and they burnt down businesses all around Tulsa, especially in the downtown area, known now in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwood Street or Black Wall Street. Well, what they did was they burnt down businesses and robbed, killed, and stole and hung Black people for a span of 1 day, 24 hours, and the government did nothing about it. They stole, they killed, and they drove people out of their homes, burnt their homes. It was a horrible event, and it's not even documented in textbooks at all. I didn't learn about it in history class when I was in high school. I didn't learn about it until after I graduated. A year after I graduated, I learned about it. And there's a place called Greenwood Cultural Center in downtown Tulsa. You can learn even more about it, but I'm going to give you the runaround. So what they did was, not only did they rob, steal, kill, the police was on this too, and government officials there's actually documented evidence that government officials actually gave people that was coming back from World War I guns to kill people in downtown Tulsa, specifically Black African Americans. Not only were the people around the surrounding area, the white people, not only were they in it, but also the government was too. There's documented evidence in newspapers stating that the government dropped a bomb on downtown Tulsa after everything was over. And not only did it burn down houses and kill almost 50% of the population at the time, there was also thousands of people who've been paying insurance around their whole lives, who tried to document and get their insurance paid. Around that time, they asked for $2.1 million in total insurance coverage, but they were denied. In 2020, that is estimated to be around $28 million. So in today's time, imagine $28 million just going, disappearing, and nobody getting their compensation. Not only did they get robbed, killed, stole, and also slandered, they also hid it from the world, basically, and there's not in no textbooks, not now, and there probably won't ever be ever. If you want to find even the slightest detail about it, you have to go and watch YouTube videos. They're not in textbooks nowhere, especially not in Oklahoma textbooks. This at the time was the most racially disturbing thing of that area, and certainly even now. Even if you think about all the race riots in the 60s and even some now in today's time with Black Lives Matter, this is by far the worst of all time. Not only did they kill, steal, and destroy, but they also burnt down houses, innocent kids killed. There was very few young survivors who can even talk about it now. And if you want to hear about it from somebody now, they're around in their late 90s. It's because it was just so long ago. It was a crazy, unprecedented situation that we've never seen before. And then also that they were also forced out of downtown Oklahoma. They were forced to sell their land and their property in the areas because they couldn't pay bills. It's because their houses burned down. They had to find somewhere to go. It was just, it was one of those situations where we can do nothing about it, and all we can do is just hope and pray that something like that doesn't happen again. But downtown Tulsa now is run by a bunch of white people, and a bunch of people who own big buildings that's worth billions of dollars. The BOK Center, One Gas, BOK Stadium. It's just like, it's a lot of popular things down there. A lot of businesses owned by white people who were originally owned by Black African Americans. There's very few even areas that Black people own even now. There's probably a Subway or haircut parlor, but it's just really sad just going and thinking about that, and not many people really know about it. It's because it was never explained to us. So when you go to downtown Tulsa, just like look into it and just see about it, hear about it. It's because you're not going to get a chance to in the classrooms because nobody's going to talk about it. It's because it was hidden from America, and there's no survivors. But it's just one of those situations where there's nothing that we can do about it. And we just hope and pray that something like that doesn't happen again. Well, my name is Javian Patrick, and that's all that I have for you. Thank you.